Have you ever walked away from a conversation, and for a moment, everything felt normal? Like you were closing a textbook, finishing a chapter, moving on with your day, but then, out of nowhere, your mind hit rewind. A single sentence replayed itself. A strange tone echoed in your head. A look on their face suddenly felt different, and your thoughts whispered, "Wait." Something was off, but I couldn't explain it. The words they spoke sounded soft. Their voice was steady, almost gentle. Their face looked so calm that you questioned your own reaction. Maybe they touched your arm, or smiled at you, or laughed in a way that made everything feel harmless. But inside you, something didn't match the scene. Your body reacted before your mind could. Your chest tightened. Your stomach dropped just a little. Your instincts tugged at you like a quiet alarm saying, "Something is wrong here." And yet, even with that warning, you started doing what so many good-hearted people do. You apologized. You over-explained. You tried to keep the peace. You doubted your own eyes, your own memory, your own sense of truth. Meanwhile, the person who caused all this confusion, they walked away calm, relaxed, untouched, and you were left alone with the heaviness in your chest and the fog in your mind, trying to understand why you felt guilty for something you didn't even do. Let me tell you a truth most people never hear. This is not an accident. It's not a misunderstanding. It's not a sign you're too emotional or too sensitive. It's manipulation, the quiet, polished kind that doesn't make a scene, doesn't shout, doesn't slam doors, and doesn't look frightening at all. This kind of manipulation hides behind softness. It uses kind-sounding words, gentle questions, careful tones, and expressions that look innocent, but carry hidden pressure. People imagine liars as loud or angry, but some of the most effective manipulators are calm, sweet, and incredibly smooth. They know exactly how to twist the conversation without you noticing the twist. They do something very subtle but very powerful. They make you feel like the problem. They make you think, "I must have misunderstood. I guess I'm being too sensitive. I shouldn't have said anything. Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm the one who's wrong." And in that moment, reality shifts. Not because you're wrong, but because they're skilled at making you doubt yourself. That's why today we're going to break down the 5 questions liars use to twist your reality, to weaken your judgment, and to escape the accountability they don't want to face. These questions are not random. They're patterns. They're tools. And once you learn to recognize them, you will never be caught off guard by them again. More importantly, I'll show you how to respond with calm, grounded, unshakable Stoic strength. The kind of strength that doesn't yell, doesn't panic, doesn't lose control, but stands firm like a mountain in the middle of a storm. Because the Stoics understood something life-changing. You cannot control what another person chooses to say. You cannot control how they try to spin their story. You cannot control their tone, their questions, or their tricks. But you can control what you accept into your mind. You can control what you believe. You can control how you respond. And that is where your freedom begins. So, if you're tired of questioning your own judgment, if you're done letting people rewrite your reality, if you're ready to protect your peace, honor your truth, and stand tall inside your own self-respect, hit subscribe and walk with me on this path of Stoic self-mastery. Your clarity starts now. Your power starts now. Let's begin. Why don't you believe me? This question sounds soft at first, almost sad, almost wounded, almost innocent enough to make you pause and feel a little guilty. Why don't you believe me? When it hits your ears, it doesn't sound like manipulation. It doesn't sound like an attack. It sounds like you might have done something wrong, like you hurt them by doubting them. And that's exactly why this question is so effective. It creates the illusion that they're the vulnerable one, that you are the one being cold or unfair. That trust is something you owe them immediately. On the surface, it looks like they want connection. It looks like they simply want reassurance. It looks like they're confused why you're questioning them. But all of this is just the surface layer. Look at what happens inside your mind the moment they say it. Your thoughts instantly start folding inward. Maybe I'm being unfair. Maybe I'm overthinking this. Maybe I'm too suspicious. Maybe I'm turning nothing into something. Maybe this really is my fault. Do you see the shift? The situation moves away from their behavior and lands squarely on your self-doubt. You stop examining the facts. You stop trusting your instincts. You stop noticing the inconsistencies. And you start questioning your own ability to see clearly. This is the exact moment a liar wants. Because once you doubt your own mind, they no longer have to hide anything. A liar uses this line when they feel the ground slipping beneath them. When life way. Their words don't match their actions. In 18 ordertenses, life way. Their story has gaps they can't fill. Life way. Life way. The timing doesn't make sense. In participles. Their explanation feels too perfect. Importance. Or you suddenly noticed a detail they didn't expect you to catch. In participles. Instead of addressing the crack, instead of clearing things up, instead of offering transparency, they attack the one thing that keeps you grounded, your judgment. It's subtle. It's smooth. It's quiet. But it's extremely calculated. Because once you start doubting your own perception, they no longer need to provide answers. They just need to keep the pressure on long enough for you to back down. Suddenly, you are the one defending yourself. You are the one apologizing. You are the one trying to justify why you noticed something. You are the one trying to prove you're not crazy. The entire burden of the situation shifts onto you. But a Stoic doesn't get swept away by emotional pressure. A Stoic doesn't bend their truth to keep someone comfortable. A Stoic doesn't sacrifice reality for the illusion of harmony. A Stoic does something very simple. They look at actions, not excuses. They look at facts, not feelings. They look at patterns, not promises. Because words are easy. Words can be sweet, polished, and rehearsed. But actions? Actions always tell the truth. So when someone says, "Why don't you believe me?" you don't panic. You don't collapse into guilt. You don't explain yourself for noticing what you noticed. You respond with calm, grounded clarity. Belief comes from actions, not from pressure. It's soft. It's respectful. But it cuts through the entire manipulation instantly. You're not attacking them. You're not arguing. You're simply placing the responsibility back where it belongs, on their behavior, not your doubt. And here's the beautiful part. A truthful person will respond with openness. They will give clarity. They will be calm. They will understand your concern. They will want to make things clear. But a liar? A liar will immediately reveal themselves. They will get defensive, get irritated, act offended, guilt-trip you, call you insecure, blame your past, tell you you're imagining things, flip the whole situation upside down. Their reaction becomes the confession they never intended to give. Either way, you gain clarity. Because you didn't fold, you didn't crumble, you didn't let someone drag you into confusion, you didn't let pressure replace truth. You stayed calm. You stayed grounded. You stayed connected to your own perception. And that ability to remain steady while someone tries to twist your reality is real power. The kind of power no manipulator wants you to have. The kind of power a Stoic builds every day. After everything I've done for you, This isn't really a question. It's a weapon dressed as a sentence designed to hit you in the heart before you even notice the strike. After everything I've done for you. At first, it feels emotional. It feels heavy, loaded, dripping with disappointment. It feels like you just let someone down deeply, like you hurt them by asking for something basic. Honesty. But underneath that emotional weight, the real message is far sharper. Stay quiet. Don't question me. You owe me loyalty. You don't get to point out what I did wrong. This line has nothing to do with love, nothing to do with gratitude, nothing to do with appreciation. It's about control. Because people who use this line don't reach for understanding, they reach for power. They reach into the past, grab every favor, every gift, every act of kindness, and drop it all in front of you like a bill you forgot to pay. They want to overwhelm you emotionally. They want to drown you in guilt. They want to make you feel so small that you instantly back down. They want you to feel, in 319.7, guilty for speaking up, in 319.7, in 319.7, wrong for wanting answers, in 319.7, in 319.7, selfish for wanting the truth, in 319.7, in 319.7, ungrateful for noticing the problem, in 319.7, in 319.7, and above all, not allowed to question them, in 319.7. This tactic works incredibly well on good, kind-hearted people, people like you, because you don't like hurting anyone who has helped you. You don't like conflict. You don't like the idea of looking ungrateful. Manipulators know this. They study it. They count on it. So they twist kindness into a currency. They twist affection into a contract. They twist generosity into a cage. Because the moment you feel indebted, the moment you feel like you owe them, they can get away with anything. Lying, hiding, avoiding responsibility. All because they once did something nice for you. But here is the truth the Stoics lived by. Real kindness expects nothing in return. Real love does not demand silence. Real giving does not transform into leverage. If someone keeps reminding you of what they did every time you question them, they didn't give out of love. They gave with an agenda. They weren't helping you. They were investing in future control. They don't want equality. They don't want a real, honest connection. They want you to feel indebted, so you feel too guilty to ever hold them accountable. So when they say, "After everything I've done for you," what they are really saying is, in 319.10s, "Don't question me." In 319, in 319.10, "Don't hold me accountable." In Preets, in Cresti, "Don't ask for clarity." In 319.7, in 319.7, "Let me get away with this." In 319.7, but a Stoic doesn't get pulled into that emotional trap. A Stoic doesn't panic. A Stoic doesn't collapse into guilt. A Stoic doesn't let someone else decide what they're allowed to question. A Stoic brings the focus back to where it belongs. With calm, simple truth. What you did was kind, but it doesn't cancel my right to the truth. This sentence is gentle, but it's strong. It's respectful, but unshakable. It acknowledges their effort, but refuses to let that effort become a chain around your neck. You're not dismissing them. You're not disrespecting them. You're not forgetting what they did. You're simply refusing to let kindness become a shield for dishonesty. A manipulator hates this moment because you've just cut straight through their strongest weapon, guilt. They can't guilt you into silence anymore. They can't guilt you into backing down. They can't guilt you into carrying a burden that isn't yours. With one calm sentence, you break the emotional spell they tried to cast over you. And more importantly, you protect something priceless, your self-respect. And that is worth far more. than anything they ever used to manipulate you. Why are you making such a big deal out of this? This question is one of the most common tools manipulators use. It's their go-to move. It's the classic minimizer, soft on the outside, poisonous on the inside. Why are you making such a big deal out of this? At first, it sounds light, almost puzzled, almost like they genuinely don't understand why you're upset. Like you are the one overreacting and they're just calmly trying to make sense of it. But the message hiding inside that relaxed tone is sharp and pointed. As so, you're overreacting. As so, you're too emotional. As so, you're blowing this out of proportion. As so, your feelings are the real problem, not what I did. As so. Stop talking, stop asking, stop noticing. As so. That's what they actually mean. They shrink the issue, so you shrink your voice. They minimize the situation, so you minimize your feelings. They make the problem look tiny, so you look foolish for caring about it. And slowly, without realizing it, you begin to turn against yourself. Your mind starts whispering, maybe I'm being dramatic. Maybe I should have kept quiet. Maybe I shouldn't have brought this up. Maybe I'm really just blowing this out of proportion. Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm the one making things complicated. And just like that, the focus shifts from their behavior to your self-doubt. This is exactly how the minimizer wins. Because once you start doubting your own reactions, you stop trusting your own judgment. And when you stop trusting your judgment, you stop asking questions. You stop pointing out inconsistencies. You stop protecting your boundaries. You silence yourself. And they don't have to take responsibility for anything. But here's the truth no manipulator wants you to remember. If something disturbs your peace, if it shakes your trust, if it makes your mind replay the moment again and again, then yes, it is a big deal for you. And that alone is enough. Your feelings matter. Your instincts matter. Your discomfort matters. Your standards matter. You're not making a big deal out of nothing. You're listening to your inner alarm, the one that goes off when someone crosses your boundaries, when honesty slips, when something doesn't align with your values. Stoic philosophy never told anyone to keep quiet just to avoid trouble. Stoics were not doormats. They didn't pretend problems were small just to maintain artificial harmony. Stoicism teaches something very different. Look at what actually happened. Look at how it conflicts with your values. Look at the truth calmly, without fear, and respond with clarity, not panic. That is not overreacting. That is wisdom. You are not too much for wanting. End. Respect. End. Honesty. End. Clarity. End. Consistency. End. Stability. End. Truth. End. These are not extras. These are the bare minimum requirements for any healthy relationship. So, when someone tries to silence you with, "Why are you making such a big deal out of this?" you don't get dragged into defending your emotions. You don't get lost in proving you're not dramatic. You don't explain yourself endlessly. You simply answer with calm, grounded strength. It's a big deal to me. And that matters. Or, if it affects my trust, it's not small. These simple sentences do something incredibly powerful. End. They stop the guilt trip in its tracks. End. They bring the focus back to the actual issue. End. They show that your standards are not up for negotiation. End. They send a clear message. You decide what matters to you. End. You're not shouting. You're not begging. You're not justifying. You're stating truth. My feelings are real. My boundaries are valid. And I don't need your permission to care. A liar will always try to convince you you're too emotional, because emotional people are easier to silence. But a Stoic remembers, what disturbs your peace must be faced, not buried. And the moment you stop apologizing for caring, the moment you stand by your own feelings without guilt, you take your power back, and the minimizer loses theirs. If you really loved me, you'd trust me. This one goes straight for the heart, not the mind, not the logic. It aims directly at the place where you care the most. If you really loved me, you'd trust me. When you hear it, it doesn't feel like manipulation. It feels soft. It feels tender. It feels like someone is reaching out for closeness, for reassurance, for connection. It sounds almost poetic, like something out of a love story. But listen more carefully. The tone may be gentle, but the meaning is sharp. Hidden inside that soft sentence is a very clear threat. If you don't trust me exactly the way I want, then your love must be fake. This line turns love into a test, and trust into a weapon. It doesn't create closeness. It forces closeness. And anything forced is not love. Because when someone says, if you really loved me, you'd trust me, they're not trying to understand you. They're not checking in. They're not building a bridge. They are trying to make you doubt. End. Your intentions. End. End. Your caring. End. End. Your loyalty. End. End. Your love. End. End. Your right to ask for clarity. End. All because you dared to notice something. All because you asked a question. All because something didn't feel right. It creates a dangerous, unfair equation. If you doubt, you don't love. If you ask, you're cold. If you want clarity, you're ungrateful. If you need honesty, you're too demanding. If you express concern, you're hurting them. And suddenly, you're not talking about what happened anymore. You're now trying to prove your love. You're trying to fix the hurt they created. You're trying to comfort someone who made you uncomfortable. This is how emotional pressure works. It switches the roles. It makes the person who caused the confusion look like the victim, and it makes you, the one seeking truth, look like the villain. But here's the truth they never want you to remember. Real love invites honesty. Fake love fears it. Real love does not crumble when you ask a question. Real love doesn't panic when you want clarity. Real love doesn't punish you for wanting to understand. Real trust is not demanded. Real trust is not forced. Real trust is not something you owe someone simply because you care. Real trust grows through consistent behavior. Real trust is built by showing, not telling. Real trust comes from patterns, not pressure. So when someone says, if you loved me, you'd trust me, what they are really saying is, Rata Resses. Don't question me. Rata Resses. Rata Resses. Don't look too closely. Resta. Resta. Don't notice the inconsistencies. Resta. Resta. Don't ask me to explain anything. Resta. Resta. Give me blind loyalty, so I never have to be accountable. Resta. This is not love. This is not closeness. This is not vulnerability. This is emotional pressure, wrapped in a soft tone. This is a shortcut for avoiding responsibility. This is a shield against being questioned. This is manipulation, disguised as intimacy. And a Stoic knows the difference. The Stoics never taught anyone to close their eyes and call it love. They taught people to see clearly and still choose wisely. To look at reality, not fantasy. To trust actions, not words. Love isn't supposed to make you blind. Love is supposed to make you more aware of yourself, of the other person, and of the truth between you. So, when someone tries to guilt you into silence with, if you really loved me, you'd trust me, you don't fall apart. You don't panic. You don't rush to defend your heart. You respond with calm strength. Real love doesn't fear honest questions. Or, trust grows from truth, not from pressure. These sentences destroy the manipulation instantly. They protect your dignity. They remind the other person what trust actually is. They keep the conversation grounded in reality, not guilt. They bring the focus back to actions, not emotional traps. If they truly love you, if they truly care, they will slow down, they will listen, they will explain, they will answer without anger. They will give you clarity instead of guilt. But if they get angry, if they shut down, if they attack you for wanting honesty, then understand something very clearly. They are not asking for love. They are asking for control. A Stoic heart stays open, but never blind. A Stoic mind stays compassionate, but never silent when truth is needed. And a Stoic spirit understands this simple truth. Love is strongest when it stands on truth, not when it collapses under pressure. Can't we just forget this ever happened? This one is the escape hatch. The line people use when they want out of the moment, not out of the relationship, but out of responsibility. Can't we just forget this ever happened? When you first hear it, it doesn't sound like manipulation. It sounds gentle, calm, peaceful, like they're trying to avoid unnecessary conflict, like they want harmony, not tension, like they just want you both to move past the discomfort. But when you look closer, when you feel the energy behind the words, you start to notice that this softness has an edge. Because a person who genuinely wants peace doesn't hide from the truth. They don't run from the conversation. They don't shut down the moment things get uncomfortable. A person who wants real peace walks toward the truth, not away from it. So when someone says, "Can't we just forget this?" they're not saying, "Let's understand each other. Let's fix this together. Let's learn and grow. Let's strengthen the relationship." No, what they're actually saying is, "I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to face what I did. I don't want to feel exposed. I don't want to take responsibility. I want you to drop this before it makes me uncomfortable. You carry the confusion, not me." This line is not about peace. It's about escape. They want instant comfort, not real resolution. They want the feeling of the problem to disappear, not the problem itself. And that difference is everything. Because peace without truth is just silence. A calm moment built on avoidance is not peace. It's just postponing the explosion. It's a ticking bomb waiting for the next argument, the next mistake, the next moment you ask a question they don't want to answer. Stoic philosophy is the opposite of avoidance. Stoics didn't run from discomfort. They didn't pretend everything was fine. They didn't bury problems under false positivity. Stoic peace comes from Meisterson 17, facing the truth with steady calm. Meisterson 17, Meisterson 17, understanding what really happened. Meisterson 17, Meisterson 17, correcting what can be corrected. Meisterson 17's, Meisterson 17, and letting go only after clarity is gained. Meisterson 17's, not before, never before. So when someone tries to shut you down with, "Can't we just forget this ever happened?" you don't yell. You don't freeze. You don't drown in guilt. You don't let them rush you into silence. You respond with grounded clarity. "I'll move on when I understand, not before." Short, direct, unshakable. This single sentence does something powerful. It sets a boundary. You will not bury something that needs air. It stays respectful. You're not attacking them. You're stating a need. It puts the responsibility back where it belongs, on the confusion their actions created. It tells them you're not clinging to drama. You're holding on to truth. Because what you're really saying is simple. I deserve to understand what happened. If they genuinely care about you, about the connection, about the trust between you, they will slow down. They will stay present. They will talk through it with openness, not defensiveness. They will. Lessness. Explain. Lessness. Lessness. Clarify. Lessness. Lessness. Apologize. Lessness. Lessness. Repair. Lessness. That is what real care looks like. But if they don't want responsibility, if they want an easy escape from the consequences of their actions, they will try to flip the script. They will call you lessness, stubborn, lessness, lessness, dramatic, lessness, lessness, cold, lessness, lessness, too much, lessness. They will act like your desire for clarity is the real problem. This is what people do when they fear accountability. They attack the person who asks for it. But remember this. Wanting the truth is not too much. It is basic respect. It is emotional safety. It is the foundation of real peace. You're not asking for perfection. You're not asking for control. You're not asking for anything unreasonable. You're asking for honesty. You're asking for understanding. You're asking for mutual respect. And anyone who cannot face the truth cannot build a future with you. Not a stable one, not a peaceful one, not a real one. A Stoic heart doesn't hide from reality. A Stoic mind doesn't bury problems. A Stoic spirit doesn't fear clarity, because clarity is the beginning of wisdom, and clarity is what sets you free. Liars don't always show up with anger. They don't always storm into a room or slam doors or shout to get control. Most of the time, they don't need any of that. Most of the time, they use soft words, gentle tones, a careful smile, and questions that sound innocent enough to lower your guard. They speak like they're trying to understand you. They look like they're trying to comfort you. They act like they're hurt or confused or simply wanting peace. But underneath those calm sentences, beneath the soft tone and harmless expression, there is always the same quiet strategy: to make you doubt what you saw, to make you question what you felt, to make you second-guess what you heard, to make you rewrite your own memory, to make you disconnect from your own instincts, and, eventually, to make you disconnect from your own worth. They don't attack your strength directly. They slowly disconnect you from it. They weaken the foundation so the whole structure collapses from the inside, not with force, but with subtle emotional pressure. And this is exactly why the Stoic path matters. The Stoic way isn't about fighting fire with fire. It isn't about shouting back louder. It isn't about proving someone wrong or outsmarting them. It's not about becoming cold, distant, or hard-hearted. It's about something far more powerful and far more rare. Seeing clearly, even when someone is trying to blur your vision. Staying calm, even when they try to pull you into chaos. Choosing truth over comfort, even when the truth hurts. Choosing self-respect over fake peace, even when silence would be easier. Because real peace is not what happens when things are quiet. Real peace is what happens when things are clear. So when someone throws these lines at you, why don't you believe me? After everything I've done for you, why are you making such a big deal out of this? If you really loved me, you'd trust me. Can't we just forget this ever happened? You don't have to freeze. You don't have to spiral. You don't have to attack or collapse or beg for understanding. You don't have to let guilt tear you apart from the inside. You just have to remember the truth. Your mind belongs to you. Your standards belong to you. Your peace belongs to you. And no question, no tone, no dramatic sigh, no guilt trip, no emotional twist, no manipulation masked as concern is worth handing those away. If this message opened your eyes, if it helped you see through manipulation with more clarity. Anchor that clarity with one powerful sentence in the comments. My peace is not for sale. Write it, read it, let it sink in. That sentence is not just a comment, it's a shield. A reminder you can return to every time someone tries to twist your reality. Because once you protect your peace, you stop being easy to manipulate. You stop being easy to guilt. You stop being easy to confuse. You stop letting people turn your kindness into a weakness. You become steady. You become centered. You become unshakable. And that is the heart of Stoic power. If you want more simple Stoic tools to deal with manipulation, emotional chaos, hidden pressure, and the quiet tricks people use to bend your sense of truth, hit subscribe and stay with this channel. You're not just learning information here, you're building inner armor. You're sharpening your mind. You're strengthening your judgment. You're reclaiming the freedom to think clearly and live truthfully. When you're ready, watch the next video on your screen. How Stoics spot red flags before it's too late. It will take everything you learned today and sharpen it even further, so you can walk into any situation with clarity, stability, and quiet strength. Stay calm, stay clear, stay true to your inner self, and above all, keep walking the path of wisdom.